No, not having an opinion in this culture is not a good thing. When actually, it could probably be a really great thing because you'd be open to truth if it should happen to come your way.
How refreshing would that be?
Yeah. So
that's the thing about truth, though. It doesn't actually come your way. You have to go out and look for it, don't you?
Lots of times, because there are forces out there that would rather have you believe things that aren't true. I think that most people, if they don't have an opinion on something, they default to consensual reality. They default to whatever the society, the hive mind, the group mind thinks, like about astrology. So you realize that this hive mind has been created for you, though. I mean, you have to realize that it's just not a spontaneously erupting thing. Actually, I have a quote here from a man named William Casey. Now, this character was a CIA director, and from his first staff meeting comes a famous quote of his. He says, this is the guy, he's coming in, he's his first day on board, and this is his direction he's giving to his staff. He says, quote, "We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false." So, so if you're draining the tank of consensual reality to upload your belief wardrobe, I think you couldn't get a worse source for your ideas. My opinion, my belief. And once you get these beliefs, actually, remember when we used to make assessment centers for corporations, and how it would work. Candidates for jobs would come in, and the corporation, with the help of myself, who was a consultant, would run the applicants through assessment centers, which were just basically places where they could display their skills. They'd put them in kind of real job situations. And one of the things that we used to have to watch them do for a certain position was to try to figure out how they handled conflicts. Whether they're someone who can be a little bit flexible, whether it's someone who attacks the other person, whether they win at all cost or whether they want to come to truth. You wanted to find out those things. So you'd give them an idea to argue about. But you couldn't give them an idea to argue about. What you had to do was give them information, and they had to decide a certain thing in that information, and then they would come and argue. In other words, you'd give them applicants for a job, and you'd have each individual person pick the candidate that they would sponsor or advocate, so that you get differing opinions. And so they would come out fighting. But if you asked them as a group, just to get together, here are the applicants, there wouldn't be conflict. So we had to allow them, the reason I'm saying this, we had to allow them to coalesce around a belief before they would come out and argue for that belief. Otherwise, the normal way is to just come out and find the truth. Let's go through them, and we'll share information and viewpoints, and we'll try to come up with the best candidate. But if you want them to argue, you have to give them time to coalesce around divergent beliefs. Yeah.
And you did that by sort of creating a profile, didn't you? So that you would form an emotional reaction to each of the different candidates based on some of their...
Yeah, sometimes it was emotional, sometimes it was factual. You'd have certain candidates that would appeal to this type of applicant and vice versa. But anyway, it was fun. But it just proves the point that once they coalesce, once they get it in their database, once they make it part of their worldview, it's really hard to change.
Oh, and it doesn't take long either.
No, actually, we did it in, well, we had to do it in 10 minutes. Right. So
in the 10 minutes time, you form an opinion which you will then defend till your death.
Right. And most of the
Because why take in any new information if you've already formed your opinion?
absolutely. And you're going to look like a schmuck if you don't, if you say, "Oh yeah, you're right. Oh my God, you were so right." People don't say that; they defend their own opinions. Being I don't know, but anyway, they coalesce around a belief and then they'll defend their belief. And if they're coalescing around William Casey's reality, they're coalescing around the reality that's going to allow them to be manipulated by whoever was the person who appointed William Casey and the like. So in other words, if you're allowing the consensual reality, which was been created by the CIA, influence you, it's going to influence you in a probably not in a positive way. I'm thinking that a free-thinking person that can be ever in pursuit of the truth is that's the fertile ground for consciousness development, for our continued evolution, for our continued understanding. But if you're given your ideas in a consensual reality package, I can bet that package wasn't designed to evolve you. It wasn't designed to do anything but make you a controllable member of a society that needs to be controlled by, the people at the top, the psychopaths in power. But I doubt that you'll be able to be very influential with an ignoramus, because they're pretty ensconced and they don't change easily. There is another type of person who you will be able to influence. They're called seekers, and I'll talk a little bit more about them later on in the show. So the idea when you're interacting with an ignoranus, to realize that they're just defending their own beliefs, and as Mindy said before, really treat them like a child. Actually, I have a story. I remember when I started off working, I was a public school teacher, and public school teacher, you deal with kids. Well, I was an art teacher, and so I was able to deal with kids from kindergarten all the way up to senior high school. And it was a great job, by the way. And then when I started teaching in organizations, I'm there, and some of the people in my class are older than me. They certainly have a lot more experience in business than I do. It was a real intimidating situation. But one day I got into the classroom with my new adult students, and somehow my brain started picturing them as being third graders. And I could picture the one ornery-looking area manager being the naughty kid that was, pulling the pigtails of the little girl in front of him, and the freckle-faced guy that turned into the junior executive. I could still see that freckle-faced kid looking for a reason to laugh. So I found that when I think of people, adults, as children, I have a lot more compassion for them. I can say, "Oh, well, they don't know. That's really cute," So that's my stance on the ignoranus now, is to try to understand them. Don't be affected by the fact that they're going to find your examined viewpoints, your what I would call enlightened viewpoints, somewhat not to their liking, and don't be influenced by them. Go on to the next person, because there's a type of person in the world that can be influenced by you. Actually, you're probably this type of person. There's been studies done on the type of people that are more inclined to expand their consciousness. And the study divides the subjects into 4 groups. The first group, I think they called depleted, because they were just people who were mentally ill or mentally defective or so emotionally shut down that they really couldn't be measured. Then there was another type they called the achievers, and these people developed somewhat, but because they were so positively oriented, it seemed to thwart their development. You know, the idea is to feel everything. The third type was the conservers, and I would suggest that a lot of your ignoranuses are conservers because they really hold on to their beliefs. You know, these people have one profession, one job. They're generally very successful in life because they stick to one thing and get good. But in terms of expanding consciousness, they're not there. The fourth type is the seeker, and that's what I think most of you, if you're taking the time to listen to the show, you're probably a seeker. And these people, what's important to them is finding out what's real, exploring the unknown, actually forming different opinions just to see how they fit. These people really experience life. I was talking about the achievers before, experiencing, you know, really focusing on the positive. Well, the seekers want to feel it all. They want to feel the deepest pain. They want to feel the highest heights. And I think that's one of the reasons why their consciousness expands. So what I'm saying is, don't waste your energy. Waste your love on the ignoranuses, because they're going to be tough to get to examine their beliefs. But spend your time on the seekers, because those people are really want to know. And even though they might be turned off and shocked at first in starting examining some of their beliefs or some of the things that you've told them and you found out to be true, and you want to turn them on to. But seekers are your friends. So, as a quick review of this podcast, we talked about 3 different types of people that we encounter as we start examining the world a little more deeply. The first one that stands out is the psychopath. These are the people who are in charge. These are the people who are creating the wars. These are the people that are crashing the economic system. These are the people that are making sure you get your fair share of GMOs. And I think that they're just totally out of control and very mentally sick people. And I think what we should do is direct our sympathy to the psychopaths. This doesn't mean you need to go along with them, cooperate with them. You need to stand up for yourself and stand up for what you believe. But you can give sympathy to the psychopaths because they're a mess. The second type we talked about was the ignoranuses. And I guess I gave them such a vivid title because they really are frustrating, because they really are stuck in the groove, and there's just no way you're going to get them out of their strong adherence to the consensual reality that, you know, emanates through the schools, and through the TV, and through, you know, the print media, even over the internet a lot. And then the last, let's give our love to the ignoranuses. And the last one was the seeker. The seekers are the ones that we can probably influence and wake up. The seekers are the ones that you want to focus your attention on the seekers.